Food safety doesn't usually fail all at once. It breaks down slowly. A shortcut here, a misstep there, an employee rushing because the kitchen's buried, a cooler that should be fine, a thermometer nobody checked in weeks. And over time, those little things become habits. That's what this series is really about. Not fear, not inspections, not trying to scare operators. It's about understanding how disciplined kitchens actually operate and why the smallest details often make the biggest difference when it comes to protecting guests, staff, and ultimately your reputation. Eric Moore from Testo North America is back with us for episode 2 of Inside Food Safety. And today we're talking about complacency, operational blind spots, and the warning signs that kitchens can't afford to ignore. Eric, let's start here. What separates a kitchen having a normal operational mistake from a kitchen becoming genuinely unsafe?
Hey, Carl. Glad to be back. Looking forward to the conversation. I think that's a really great question. And truly, I think the difference is leadership. Well run kitchens are usually a beautiful thing to watch. And whether you're a part of it, sort of the orchestra of things that are happening in that environment, or you're an observer and you can visually just watch like the mastery of everybody working together in unison. Um, but it takes leadership, right, to do that. And if you remove that leadership or something begins to erode in the leadership of a kitchen, that's where things begin to break down. And it applies to food safety as well as occupational safety, and the products that the kitchen is turning out. To be all honest with you, like it's a cascading effect that'll affect multiple things, not just food safety.
And by the way, welcome back to the show. I love these things. These are awesome. I think we're doing the good work, if you will. So I think it's always going to come down to leadership, but it's also something a little bit more abstract, and that is your protocols, your SOPs. It's your standard operating procedures. And ultimately, yes, there's somebody where the buck must stop against. But there's still 60, 70 people, 100 people in a restaurant, and accountability is important. So I think a lot of this has to do with the culture of the establishment, any particular establishment.
Yeah, I mean that's a very good point. And when I refer to leadership, that also begins to incorporate you know the behaviors, the norms of the people operating within that environment, right? Leadership takes many forms, right? And one of those is employee self-empowerment. If everybody is led properly, everybody should feel enough, like comfortable enough to be able to call their line mate out if they skip a step, do something wrong, miss something. That's leadership, right? It's not just the executive chef or the kitchen manager or fill in the blank of the role. It's everybody coming together to be a true team, making sure that things don't get overlooked or misstepped. What is commonly referred to as food safety culture, the norms, the beliefs that everybody in a specific environment shares. Right? It takes leadership to establish that, right? But then it takes peer support and employee empowerment to maintain that. That incorporates everybody that's working in that establishment, front of the house, back of the house, your porters, your dishwashers, your floor cleaners, your everybody that's involved. When one of those things starts to wane, right, or weaken, then the rest of the rest of the system begins to degrade and get a little weaker too.
There's a thing. When you're talking about leveraging or leaning on the staff, you have to do it. And most of these restaurants are run by, dare I say kids, 18, 19, 25-year-old people. There's a lot of responsibility in it. I'll give you an example. We were in Chicago this past week for the National Restaurant Association show. And I know we just missed you. You were at the food safety summit just like a week before, which was I wish we could have linked up, but we went to a restaurant. I'll leave it unnamed, and the food was good. The experience was good. I also recognized that there were some indicators that perhaps food safety in general wasn't being taken seriously. So right when you walk in the front door, there was debris from the outside right in the foyer when you walk in, and it kind of made its way into the restaurant. That was like sign number one. And then literally staff, I don't know what they were doing, if they were cleaning vents or what, but like there were two of the servers that had like dust um particle in their hair, on their shirt and whatnot. And I'm sure it's something silly, but optics matter. Now the bathroom was clean. The food, again, everything was executed well. But you really have to wonder who's in charge of the restaurant.
It's a unique example. There are indicators, if you will, of how well an establishment is run. Like you were indicating, right? There was a little bit of debris or something inside the foyer that enters into an establishment. When you sort of, if we pivot a little bit from front of the house to the back of the house, my what I have always done, throughout my career is, it's a pretty quick, easy assessment. I look at any hand sink in a production area. If it's dry, then I know there's some kind of breakdown in the hand washing process. That to me is concerning. It is a teachable and education type of opportunity. Another indicator, yeah, it's right to hand sinks, is if they're obstructed or they don't have towels or they don't have soap. Because if we harken back to the first episode that we have, limiting the transference of what we call these top five risk factors. One of those, if you recall, is related to health. And hand washing is the best way to limit the spread of anything, whether it's in a food service establishment or it's in your home. Right. That's the easiest way to stay healthy is regularly and routinely properly wash your hands. If nobody's using the hand sinks, then that's a direct indicator that there's a breakdown, probably more than one process. It can allow, whether it's a regulator or it's somebody that works at that establishment, to start looking at other things. I don't know if that sort of correlates with the direction you were going, but when I hear the example you provided, like that's where my head goes, right? It goes to, that is the first place that I will always look and always have looked
Well, there's
is,
there's two eyeballs here, right? There's two optics here. There is the from the industry perspective, and then there is, hey,
Mhm.
I'm a guest and I'm just going out to eat, right? I'm out there, I'm a customer. I think what you brought up was terrific. Looking for a hand sink, whether or not it's wet or not, that's 100% true, and it would be ultra concerning if they're all dry. Not many people get into the kitchen. I get in the kitchen, you get in the kitchen, but as a consumer, you walk in the front door, and you have to figure that whatever's happening in the front of the house, in the areas where customers can't go, you have to think, man, hey, what does it look like back there? And that's the indicator, and that's the culture, and that goes back to, hey, who's in charge? Where is leadership? Because it wasn't just a little bit of debris. There was just a lot of outside stuff on the inside, and it went deep into the restaurant itself. I have no idea where that came from. I will tell you this, and I'm open minded about a lot of things too, man. At the end of the day, things do happen. So we were there for convention week. So there was, God knows, 100,000 people there, converged on this part of town. It kind of leads into the next part of this, which is, if speed and pressure to perform and to put dishes out and to get seats, turned, and, guests in and out of the restaurant. If you're concerned about simply performing because you are inundated with customers, which happens at these events, maybe that's why. maybe it goes unseen, something gets literally swept under the rug per se. And to me, that's even more indicative of how important it is to have that leadership and to have that culture and to have those SOPs. Because if you can't perform when you're, rocking and rolling, when can you? You're in the business to be busy. And when you're busy, you should be well oiled and moving smoothly. And all of these things should be part of your, your daily procedure, your workflow.
I would agree. What I mentioned earlier, about like the orchestra, the way that these establishments operate, right? As you indicated, you want to be busy, you want to be humming along, you want to be in the weeds, right? And turning tables and cranking food out. When you see things happening that are rushed, like that would probably be a little concerning from my perspective, because then maybe they aren't adequately staffed for whatever reason, or the people that are working there aren't adequately trained, and they were just kind of thrown into a very challenging situation, which I'm sure, right, with your background, just as much as every job I've ever had, you're kind of thrown right into the fire. Oftentimes, that can be very, very challenging. To your point, right? That can lead to process breakdowns. People might not follow an SOP or a procedure or a process properly. Really, like if you try to crack open why is that happening? Maybe they weren't trained properly, right? Maybe they were running late, or someone else, didn't show up for work, and they're covering, you know, 2 stations instead of, their normal one, or like their tables are doubled. In that right, there can be opportunities to both, you know, have things, unfortunate things occur, but there's also opportunities to work through in how you can mitigate those things from happening in the future, or plan to, if they do happen in the future, how can we react better? People being able to not get in a complacent sort of mindset that, oh, you know what, yesterday was yesterday. We got through it. uh did we learn anything? Yeah, no, we didn't learn anything. But there's always going to be things that you can learn and act upon to make things better, right? In having a sort of a mindset of continuous improvement and self-awareness, rather than putting, whether it's your team, your establishment, into this mindset of, um don't look, don't seek, don't tell, everything's fine, but it really isn't.
Well, if we take an airplane view of this, right? Let's go up 30,000 feet and we look at the food industry landscape. Man, restaurants and eateries come and go. And a lot of times they go because they're not doing the right work. Either they're overcharging, their food isn't good, or they're dirty. And all these things are relative. So, and there's a mentality out there. I've seen it in my life where, hey, we've always done it this way and nobody's gotten sick, or hey, we've always done it this way, we don't have to improve. And frankly, a lot of those businesses go out of business. And
Yeah.
it's because of being short-sighted on important topics like this. And for me personally, I think that food safety is the okay, well, let me say it like this, equally. Food safety is equally important as whatever food products you're putting out to your guests. Obviously, like, you're going out to go out to eat, and that's your driver. But the truth is, you want everything to be clean and safe, and you want to know that the people who are working there, the personnel, are doing the right things. And just to reiterate something, what we're doing with this, inside food safety segment, this is to bring awareness to it. Because, listen, there may be somebody who's intending on opening up a restaurant. They hear this, and all of a sudden it's something that wasn't on the front of their mind, and now it is. So what we're
Yeah.
doing is a service, and it's a service to existing eateries and eateries that will be coming online. It's a thing, man. I mean, I believe that. How about
Yeah,
you?
yeah. Well, I do. And let me just like something you said. I wanna focus on, and it's this mindset of we've always done it this way. That's fine. And one, I guess, piece of advice, right, to people that are looking to break into this or get involved, open an establishment. That is, I would say, one of the most toxic mindsets you could ever have because it is just going to instill complacency in whether it's one thing that you're doing. What's going to happen is it's going to leach into many, 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 many other things. In my opinion, it's really quite toxic. And the the more that you can maintain that, the fire and the desire, to be perfect or seek perfection. Maybe right, perfection really doesn't exist, but seek it, right, and push for it. And whether that's in setting a table or it's properly, cooking a hamburger on a flat top griddle, execute your role to the best of your ability and do it well and do it every time. That's how you're going to maintain a good environment, a good atmosphere, high quality products, and repeat customers.
Well said. There's a segue here. And, Walk and Talk Media, we do a lot of work with the Brunch Chef Project. And what they do is they bring awareness, not just awareness, but they actually have quote unquote boots on the ground to assist people in the industry who are, reaching burnout or substance abuse, stuff like that. Mental health, I think, is pivotal in this because it's not something in the front burner per se, but in the back burner. Because if you have staff that are reaching burnout, then they're not paying attention when
Mm,
it comes
very
to,
true.
right? When it comes to, your SOPs, your procedures for making sure things are safe, clean, and whatnot.
I agree 1,000%. And I was not aware, like that earth chef, that sounds amazing. I'm gonna have to check that out. Um, this industry is hard. There's no doubt about it. Like you absolutely do get burned out. Whether it's you're working in restaurants, you're working in a food manufacturing establishment, you're working in a managed food service establishment, you know, hours are long, right? And the days are long and everything stacks up. Then you get busy. Everything begins to layer on top of itself. It's a challenge being able to trust the people that you work with and rely on them only goes so far, right? Like you also need to try to, look out for those for your coworkers, right? Like and maybe this is something that did or is coming out of like that program, the burn shift program. Like what are some indicators, right? That somebody is starting to maybe feel overwhelmed or suffer from burnout. Because that's another one of those opportunities that like to some degree of continuous improvement. It's not just in your food, right? It's in your people. It's in your coworkers. It's in your peers. You got to take care of them because they're going to take care of you. And when you take care of each other, you can help execute and take care of your customer to the best of all of your abilities.
It's
Um,
just amazing to me. Most roads, if not all roads, within the food industry cross through food safety. And what I mean by that is, yeah, the Burnt Chef Project, obviously they exist in order to help people who are, again, either substance abuse, overwork, burnout, all of these things that cause mental distress. And if people aren't on the top of their game, meaning staff, if people aren't focused on what the jobs and tasks are and what those responsibilities are, not just, plating and the cooking, but the cleaning and keeping people safe. Well, if you're not at 100% when you walk in the building to do your job, what makes anyone think that, cleaning is going to be part of that?
yeah,
The execution probably won't be there. It's just so important. It's like it's a major thing. I don't know.
it is at a macro level. I think there are areas of opportunity where the industry and technology are starting to become blended, where technology is, some of the technology available today is it's alleviating some of these like annoying, routine, mundane tasks that nobody, frankly, nobody in culinary world likes doing, right? Like writing down refrigeration temperatures a couple times a day, and being able to take some of those responsibilities away from people, um you know that's a way to invest in your people, right? Kind of a way to show somebody, like, listen, I value your time and I value you and your efforts and what you do here. Like, what if we explore, something like automated temperature monitoring equipment so none of us have to write down refrigeration temperature?
You know what? Let me tell you something. In the spirit of beating the drum, one of the things that we're going to talk about, I think, on every segment, is how common improper thermometer use is within the kitchen. I mean, it's something as silly as that. But again, we're not going to say it one time in one segment and then leave it there. These are things that, in order for us to make a dent in the ears of the listeners, the audience who are from this industry, you gotta, we will be repetitive with it. It's really the tools. We have to leverage the tools. And that's where I want to bring up Testo. Testo has a lot of the stuff. I was with Aaron at the NRA. Man, it's just, there's so many things, pieces of equipment and softwares and things that can literally take the onus away from staff. Obviously, they need to be there to implement, but ultimately we
Yeah,
can make things happen in a way that's more expedited and efficient.
I'll be honest. I always like to throw in there, you can even potentially save yourself from money as well as from a catastrophic loss of inventory. Whether it's a handheld thermometer, right? Which, knowing how to use that properly, right? Like, you had indicated, like, it's routine, in the industry that people misuse those. Well, and that's as simple as is what kind of training and education is there available to teach somebody how to properly take the temperature of a chicken breast. It's not rocket science, but there is some science involved, right? Like, you want to check the thickest part of the breast and let the temperature stabilize. And using digital equipment, right? Digital thermometers over the older, generation bimetallic stem thermometers, it's leaps and bounds higher quality information, and you get it faster. You can drop a digital thermometer on the floor from 6 feet, and it'll still function as it's designed. You
After you
drop a
wash it, of
bimetallic,
course.
washed and sanitized.
Right.
You drop a bimetallic stem thermometer on the floor, you have to recalibrate it, and then like, you've got to go through this process technically, like, you really, because they'll get knocked out of calibration, right? And that's just an example, right, of the misuse, right, and how common they are. Well, somebody might be overcooking food on a routine basis, and that could be the root cause of why, right? They're using a bimetallic stem thermometer. They've dropped it 50 times. They've never recalibrated it. They've never checked it in an ice water bath for accuracy, and they don't even know how to calibrate it. Which typically they're quite easy, but taking the time to understand, like, there's a process, like, that's a process breakdown. And what could we do, right? What could we maybe invest a little bit of money in to eliminate that? And a possible answer is, a fast read digital thermometer. We make a couple of really, really slick ones. I've brainwashed my entire family to use them every time we cook something. They're really, really fast, effective, and efficient. It's never impacted the cooking time of anything I've ever made. Now, granted, I'm not cooking at scale, right, in a kitchen, but I'll go to the mat with anybody that they would like to prove otherwise. There are tools that are out there that can be integrated into extremely high volume, high stress situations that are going to get you the high quality information, pieces of data like final cooking temperatures, delivered to the people that need to use those as fast as you can blink an eye.
Well, that's what's pretty amazing about the company. Testo has these systems that are linked up to, apps and yeah, I mean, it's really incredible that you can actually monitor all of these, pressure points and, critical control points when it comes to temperatures in your cooler or, something that, you're recording the temps of your steaks for the night service. It's pretty amazing. And, we're living in a really interesting age of technology that can really set you apart from the competition because listen, I go out to eat all the time. Obviously, I'm in this space, right? There are certain types of eateries that I don't go to because I know I stand a better chance of not having a good meal. I know the food might be terrific, but I genuinely I do want the SOPs. I do want people taking food safety seriously. And believe me, I've been in plenty of establishments that were, call it straight shady. I'm still here to talk about it. It's fine. But at the end of the day, I really, the older I get, the more I want of that. The more I want of food safety at large.
I am totally fine with paying for quality. The experience that, a quality establishment provides, your customers depend on that. They are putting their faith in you as the establishment owner, manager, line cook, executive chef, server, sommelier, bartender, what fill in the position. They're putting their trust in you that the food that they consume is going to be safe, wholesome, and taste amazing.
Eric, look, man, there's got to be one. I mean, I'm sure there's many, but there's got to be one operational change a restaurant can implement right now that would significantly improve food safety. What is that?
Automated stationary temperature monitoring, 24/7, 365 coverage. The systems allow you to have alerts sent to your cell phone and or your email address if there's an equipment malfunction. Really, really helpful in case there's some sort of malfunction, breakdown, save inventory, and also you can optimize your energy consumption, lower your electric bills. So that is, in my mind, it is the easiest thing to do to really help an establishment very, very quickly in figuring things out.
Right. And then you have the right people, meaning leadership, would I presumably be the ones receiving these emails and notifications. So that's like the buck stops right there.
Exactly, right. And then you can make change, right. You can shut a refrigerator down, you can relocate all the product, right. Like the, people have a lot of money tied up in refrigerators and freezers, and if one of those goes down, I mean, that can like ruin your week, your month, your year. So being able to maintain that investment, that's a big deal in my mind.
I think you're saying all the right stuff. And I feel like on our next segment, I think we should dive into that piece of equipment just a little bit more. And I feel like people are going to want to know about it. I'm just saying, how does somebody find or follow Testo?
So Instagram, Testo North America, it'll come right up. If you want to learn more about me, or reach out, you have questions, you want to chat, whatever, easiest way is LinkedIn, Eric Moore.
And I know you still have a lot of shows coming up that you're going to be attending. So safe travels to you, Eric. I'm looking forward to next month on the next segment. Have a delicious, delicious time between now and then, sir.
All right, cheers. You too, Carl. Thanks for your time.
We are out.